So one of the new features in Live 10.1 is the ability to use custom wavetables when creating your sound. And so these will work with any kind of full quality file like a WAV file or an AIF, and you can just drag and drop this straight into the wavetable to load up that sample. There's two modes that the wavetable has. There's a raw mode if you're just working with your own wavetables that you've created, but if we're just dropping any kind of sample in here, we can turn that off, and Live is going to process that sample for us so we can work with it in the wavetable. If there's any other samples in that same folder, you can scroll through those to check out all the different sounds that you've got. I've already got a drum beat programmed in, so I'm going to play a bass line along to this and make some interesting sounds with it. So one of the great things about wavetable synthesis is being able to modulate through the wavetable position to get all sorts of varying sounds throughout. And we can look at one of the other new features in Live 10.1, which is some of the new automation features. So I'm going to start off by actually recording in some automation for this, just using the push. So let's get this going, and I'll just record some automation in. So that automation is recorded in. Now, what you'll notice is that when I record automation in here, I get a whole bunch of dots in my automation that I've recorded. One of the new features in Live 10.1 is that I can select automation I've recorded in and choose to simplify the envelope. And this removes a bunch of those dots and adds lines and curves between the points to give you a much more kind of workable automation. So let's add a little bit more automation to this. I'll turn the grid off and press B to go into draw mode. And just draw in a bit of automation here. So one of the other new automation features is that when you're drawing in automation, you get that same smoothing of the curve. You don't get all those automation points like you did before. You also now have these S and C curve automation lines that you can work with. We can use another new automation feature, which is the ability to insert predefined automation shapes. I can right-click and insert one of these custom shapes, and it'll add that into the time selection that I've made. And this is one of my favorite new features, is the ability to now transform entire automation curves. So with a length of automation selected, you'll notice I get little handles on the corners and the sides of the automation, and I can grab these to transform the automation. I can hold down the Alt key to have it mirror the transformation I make. So I can reverse it, I can flip it upside down, I can even grab the corners here and kind of skew it and twist it upside down and do all sorts of really interesting things with the automation. I can now right-click on any point in my automation curve and edit a specific value for that point. So if I've got nothing selected, I can right-click on here, say Edit Value, and just type in a value that I want for that automation point. I can also do that when I'm adding in automation. So I can right-click to add a new value and just type in exactly the value that I want that to go to. So let's look at another new device in Live 10.1, which is an effect, an audio effect called the channel EQ. Now, the channel EQ is a mixing desk style EQ. We've got a fixed low shelf, a fixed high shelf, a mid-frequency control with an adjustable frequency, as well as a fixed high pass. So let's use this to kind of tweak the sound of our wavetable a little bit. Let's get a new wavetable sound going. I want to add in some chords to this track. So I'm going to load up a custom wavetable. And so I'm going to add to this another new effect in Live 10.1, which is called delay. So delay is a new device, but it's actually a combination of two old devices, the simple delay and the ping pong delay. So it takes all the features of those and adds them together into one kind of new device and adds a few extra features as well. So here we've got our delay as we might expect, but we've got this filter to adjust the color of the delays. We can switch it to be in ping pong mode. And we can add modulation to both the filter and the time. When we modulate the time, we get these kind of analog pitch shifting style effects from the delay. So I'm going to start moving some of these over to the arrangement to start looking at some of the new features that are available in the arrangement in Live 10.1. So let's grab these. I'm just going to add a color to this track over here and drag these over to the arrangement view. And just start building out a little bit of a track. So one of the things we'll notice here is that when I copied over this wavetable bass and then dragged it out to loop it, the automation didn't loop with it. So this is one of those cases where this ability to transform the automation really quickly means you can create some really interesting variations throughout with kind of minimal effort just by using those automation transform tools. So if I select a length of time in the arrangement, I can press the Z key to zoom in to that selection. I can now press the X key to zoom back out of that. And I can even do this to 2 levels, Z key to go in, and then X will take me back the number of levels that I've already zoomed in. So let's zoom into this with the Z key and just quickly show you how I can get some interesting automation happening. I'll duplicate that and then very quickly just transform this automation to get something different happening. I can, of course, here use these new predefined curves as well to add some stuff in there. So working with automation is very flexible and fast now. Some other new shortcuts that I can use. If I'm all the way zoomed in like this, I can press the H key to zoom all my tracks to fill the selection. So if I'm all the way zoomed into one track here, press H, it will scale all my tracks to fit within the screen. I can do the same thing by pressing W to scale everything to fit in horizontally, and then W again to go back to where I was before. I'm going to show you one more new feature, which is the ability to freeze tracks with sidechains. So listening over here, I've decided that I want to actually sidechain this bass line to my drum beats. So I'm going to add a compressor onto this and just set up a sidechain like I would normally. I can freeze this track even though it's got a compressor with a sidechain routing. And I'm not going to get that message that used to pop up that said I couldn't freeze it because there was an existing sidechain routing. You can flatten that to audio, and you can see that that sidechain compression has been written to the audio file, which is a really useful new feature in Live 10.1. So I've done a little bit more work on this track, added in some additional sounds, some automation, and mixed it down. So it sounds like this. For all the latest news, reviews, features, and tutorials, head to musictech.net. This has been Tom from ELPHNT. Thanks for watching.